the constellations and Job. Here we have the Wa and the Ya. This is a wolf in Cherokee. And what must be understood is that the Wa and the Ya are interchangeable, a prefix and a suffix. Eliyahu was Elijah. The Creator's name was at the end, a suffix. And many times, Yahushua, his son, has it in the prefix. Only could he carry his father's name in that way. As these letters were created by Sequoyah, it is quite improbable that he would have been a Hebrew scholar. And nobody, including all the people that came to these lands, ever knew these things, these details, as this until now. And the great thing is that Sequoyah revealed, which he didn't plan to, the very nature of the Hebrew language in the suffix and the prefix, in the fact that he made these letters look very similar, so that when they're inverted, they look almost the same. Inverted. When I discovered this after many years of studying Hebrew in the Cherokee, I was very pleased to see that what the people have said is true. That Israel is among them. The lost tribes, the house of Israel, they are there. The Waya, and if you reverse it, Yahweh, Yoah, they didn't want to say the sacred name. Very much characteristic of a tradition that was just a tradition. And now, on to the mercy seat and the judgment seat. And in the modern interpretations of the 1800s, modern of that day, and the 1700s, people were not acquainted with the feast and the Ark of the Covenant and all the sanctuary plans that were later discovered to be all details of the Messiah. And right here we have a fascinating fact that the Cherokee resembled that in their very government. When the peace chief was determined over here in the mercy seat, and behind is the Ark of the Covenant, or their ark. It was much smaller, and they carried holy things in there, very similar. This seat was taken by the peace chief, generally was a peace chief, and then on rare occasion, the judgment seat. When he and the youth determined alike that there was no other option but war, the Red Sea was taken. And so we have a distinction between the East and the West, even here, and also a very clear-cut description of Israel, the lost tribes in the Cherokee. How is that? And the very fact that they understood, at least in a somewhat primitive way, and they had great error, except for this. And it alludes to the great plan of redemption of the Day of Atonement. And what that means is that the Father would leave judgment for 10 days of awe. The 10 days of awe, and all that he would see is mercy. A future reflection of the Messiah that that His mercy, what He had done, would cover for all of mankind. And so they had a great fear of the Creator, that when He left the judgment seat for 10 days, that they must repent, pray, fast, not feast. And in that, they would discover a humility and a true fear that He has done this for their benefit, left the throne of judgment, the 10 days of awe, and mercy. This is a great example of how the Father works through the sons of Abraham altogether. And now we'll proceed to the greatest point of all, the fact that the clans are lined up like the tribes. And in a future time we will see this as an example of what was said to Job. It was said, he asked Job the question, where were you when I created the Mazareth? Asking Job this question is a rhetorical question, knowing that Job would not answer, knowing the future that he would be silent. The question to Job, he would not ask Job about something pagan. So the Creator planned this. Before there was a tribe of Israel, Job was questioned by the Creator in a way that reveals the mind of the Creator, and that He allowed the tribes to be assembled together in the same order as the constellations, so that they line up, proving His plan all along. And now we can see on the just seven of them, just as if the other 5 were gone. We're just doing this briefly to get an understanding. And that they enter in from the east, Judah, from the east. Levi, we'll see the connection between the long hair and Levi. Dan in the north. Later, as they went into battle, he would be in the south to defend. We'll touch on that later. Naphtali, the northwest, also where the Deer clan lived here in America, in the northwest of where they centered and got together. Reuben in the west. And these two are somewhat go together because it is like this in constellations, not a complete circle. So the west and the south have take up a lot of room. And there's reasons for that. The gospel going forward with Joseph. And all these standards are very similar to the Deer clan, the Bird clan, and Reuben, Paint, Joseph, Wild Potato, and Benjamin the wolf, right in the same order, the houses of Israel. So here we see another example here with the colors involved. We'll put the colors in there so that you can see that even in that, the stones of each tribe resemble the flags of the clans.